welcome everyone. I guess we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
We're camping out a little bit. I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia today, and I was supposed to stop by. One of our clients opened a new office here, and I was just going to stop by and quickly install a firewall. In and out, 15 minutes to a half an hour. I've been here all day because there's no furniture, so I'm sitting on the floor with just a white wall behind me. And waiting for another piece of equipment so we can hopefully get internet here. Anyway, so thank you for joining us today. And I'm here with Andrew Cherise, and Andrew is our security and cloud guru here at RxIT, and a really smart guy, really nice guy. And thank you for joining us today, Andrew. I'm just going to dive right in.
Bill.
IT security, IT security is always a trend, and it's always trending and changing. What are the most common threats we saw trending last year into 2022?
So the most common threats that we saw to our customers were, I'll use some technical terms: phishing, password spray, and cloud account takeover. And what that means is the most common threats we saw were phishing messages where people had been fooled into either replying or purchasing gift cards, or the other things that we saw were account takeover. So somebody's account was compromised, somebody gets into their email, and in very basic cases, they send some spam, but we're seeing more targeted attacks than we ever did, where somebody gets in your email, you don't notice, they look at your email for a while, figure out what you're doing, and then they look for opportunities. And those opportunities can be, a vendor sends you an invoice and wiring instructions, and they modify those wiring instructions, or they do something the other way. Where they try to get one of your clients to pay some money. It's almost always focused on money, and there's a good payoff there. So we're seeing a lot of businesses that are not high profile, right? We work with a lot of small, medium-sized businesses that aren't necessarily well known, household names like Coca-Cola, but yet they're still being targeted. So people are looking at them. And those are the biggest things we're seeing. We used to worry about viruses on computers and somebody's going to get into my computer. Most of what we see now has almost nothing to do with your computer. It's cloud systems.
Sure. So that sounds like 2020. So how is 2021 different?
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. The trends are kind of the same. What's different about 2021 is the level of sophistication. So what we were used to seeing was very low level attacks. So try to send 1 million spam, phishing, malicious emails and see who bites. But what we're seeing now is somebody is targeting companies. So even a small company, you look at LinkedIn, see who the CEO is, find out what their email address format is. And then you send an email that's, looks like it comes from the boss to somebody who's not the boss. And you say, hey, can you do me a quick favor? So the things that we're seeing are less generic, just blasting, things out there to see who bites, but more that somebody takes maybe half an hour or more looking at a target, figure out who the players are, and then send an email, try to hack into an email account. And if they can't, they probably move on to the next one, but they're willing to spend more time.
Yeah. So what are we doing for customers to help protect them from these threats?
For us, we kind of put a name around it, Circle of Trust Security. So some of the things that we're seeing is we used to just enable multi-factor authentication, and this was probably the buzzword in 2020, right? And then in 2021, if you're not using multi-factor authentication, what's wrong with you? what we're seeing now is some of the targeted attacks are fairly clever, and they're getting around those things. So what we used to consider, hey, just do this and you'll be great. So for us, we've gone beyond securing user accounts. So it's not just make sure you have a password and multi-factor authentication, but now we're looking at like, well, you know, what computer are you using? What applications are you using and when can you use them? What things can we turn off that make it easy for people to get into your stuff? You know, cloud systems being the biggest one. And then into mobile device management, because that's been another, you know, another issue is the ease of access from any mobile device. I'd say the biggest thing that our customers have really enjoyed was the anti-phishing service that we added. You know, we always want people to be educated and recognized, but you know, people have a job to do. And I think everybody who has that service now really appreciates the fact that it stops so many phishing messages and doesn't make employees have to figure out whether something's legit or not.
Right. So why would an IT company like us not get really involved with security? And I'm asking that because we just onboarded a new client, and that was they were sort of asking, why are you making this? Their perception was, why are you making this so difficult for us? So why would they not get as involved as we do?
Well, there's in order to do so, there becomes a point at which we can't, as an IT provider, just buy a product and install it and then everything is good. You know, we wish it were that way because we would like to just buy software and then resell it, bundle it with our service, and everything is great. But unfortunately, the only way to really secure our clients, and this is, you know, the idea of circle of trust, is we have to get involved. We have to understand, like, okay, where do people work today, right? You know, a lot of people went to work in a home in 2020 and 2021. Where do they work from? What computers do they use? What's the workflow? You know, what should they be able to do from their mobile devices? And we have to get involved into how people work in the business to be able to do that. And that's, you know, that's an investment of time to do that. And you know, not everybody is willing to do it. And it's a little more painful, but to us, it's the only way we can create a set of ground rules that defines how people work, so that when it's a criminal trying to get in your system, we recognize that.
So, and of course, frustration goes along with that sometimes. You know, we just did we did a survey out there on, we want to understand what people are getting frustrated with IT. So we asked people about IT frustrations from 2020, and you want to ask me about that?
Yeah, I'll bring up I got the results here. Let me share my screen. Let's see. I was just looking to make sure everything looks okay in the webinar here. Let's see if you'll allow me to share my screen. Oh, you did great. So we sent out a survey to a bunch of social media channels, and then Sherry here collected the results. So thanks, Sherry. And what we asked customers, basically, what is the most annoying thing about your current IT support? And we allowed people to answer. We gave some popular answers that we know, and it seems some of those remain popular, and then people could write them in. And these were the top 4, the ones that really stood out. The biggest one is they don't answer their phone. I mean, 50%, like that seems to be like the #1 frustration in IT. And it's something, you know, lack of response is something we hear from incoming customers when they're switching IT providers. And I know that you personally are really big on response, Bill, since I work for you. And you've been doing this a long time, I think since the Nixon administration, perhaps, something like that. I respect all that knowledge over the years though. And what I want to understand is, because I don't even think I really understand is, how does an IT company get it wrong when response is clearly the most important thing in people's minds when you ask them?
I think it's burnout. I think in our industry, we tend to be, IT techs tend to be people who like to help other people. And they feel a lot of times like, if they don't go all out and do that 110%, that they're letting people down. And IT people like being the savior, right? The person who comes in and saves the day and gets the stuff back up. And what happens over a period of time is they neglect themselves. They don't take time off. They don't prioritize family and make time for what's important. And then it's slow. You don't even realize it. It's sort of like dementia in an elderly person. If you're with them every day, they could get really bad before you notice, because it's gradual and you just don't realize it's going on. So over a period of years, you'll have somebody who was really happy-go-lucky and glad to help and would go the extra mile, and you've got this sort of monster. On any given day, the person can be short with people, can be losing their temper, can choose not to return calls or emails. We've seen that a lot, and I'm not a psychologist. I don't even play one on TV, but I really think that's what it is. I know I've caught that happening in myself a couple of times over the years, and now here we at RxIT we put family first. We make sure people take vacation. If they haven't been taking vacation, then we start bugging them about taking time off, so that we don't see that sort of toxic attitude creep in, because it's really the service we provide to people, and we constantly talk about this. The person who's calling you and asking for help really needs help. I mean, they've got something they're trying to do. They've got a job to do. They don't understand, a lot of the technical aspects of the applications they're using or the computers and whatnot, and they really shouldn't have to, right? They know how to use the applications that they need to use, and they expect it to work. And when it doesn't, they need help, and that's our job. That's what we've chosen to do, and we need to be able to enjoy. I think everybody who works here really enjoys what they do, and I think that shows, and that's why we're able to, that and making sure that people are taking care of themselves who work here, I think is why we're able to let's just say it, to excel at doing that.
Yep. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. You do see a lot of people burned out in our industry. And that's the thing. So the next two, I kind of think, being talked down to and rude might be a matter of perception. The way I see it, those are kind of like, I think they might be the same thing or very similar. And if you put those together, that's like 38% of the respondents. So it's a, pretty close second place to not answering the phone. And as you mentioned, whether it's burnout or just attitude, you and I know there's a lot of, a good amount of people in IT that aren't great with customers. And some organizations, you can put them in a place where they don't have to deal with customers. So we know that exists, and you can solve that with hiring. But do you think there's an underlying business reason, like that a culture in a company could affect like how customers are treated, whether it's condescending or talking down to them, or, just straight rudeness? You think there's a company culture reason for that? So it's not just, there's a couple bad apples to replace.
Yeah, I think it comes down to management that cares and that is involved. And, listening to some of the phone calls, recordings, of texts and watching the threads that go back and forth. I mean, not, you don't want to watch people's every move, but you do want to be aware of that. I think the culture, it has to be one of positive attitude. It has to be one of, you have to keep harping on, we're here to help people. And this is what we chose to do, and remind people how much we're counted on. And I think when you have an IT company, and there's a lot of really good IT service companies out there, and I think there's just as many or more that are not so good. And a fish starts stinking from the head. So if you've got somebody running one of those companies who has that burnout that I was speaking about earlier, I think that just trickles right down through everybody. So I think we talk about time off. I make sure I take enough time off. I make sure I spend enough time with my family, and that I don't get that toxic attitude.
You are always on vacation, Bill.
Well, I'm not on vacation now. I'm in Virginia.
As long as you approve mine, buddy.
I saw a sign on the way to this office this morning. They're doing a polar plunge on February 5th in Virginia.
Oh, you coming back? You gonna go back for that?
No. Can you imagine jumping in the ocean right now? That would just be. That would. No. I can't.
It's cold here outside Boston today.
It's cold here.
So the last item, and this one is different, right? It's about cost. And to me, it's a touchy question because, what costing too much, right? Sometimes that's a matter of perception on, what things cost, labor, equipment. And what we've seen in 2021 is those costs have risen, computer chip shortages and labor market is strong. So, that's a thing for everybody to have dealt with in the last year. I'm sure our customers too. The question I have for you is what can be done about that? So is this just a matter of like, hey, customers need to understand the value they're getting, or, is there, what do you think is the root cause when our customers have a frustration with, hey, this sounds like it costs too much?
So very, very few really do have that, have frustration with IT. Yep. I think it's a lot better now than it used to be. It used to be, somebody would call us because something didn't work, and we would show up to fix it. And it took how long it took, and we gave them a bill, and they wouldn't understand what we did or why it took so long. And they would get really frustrated because they couldn't budget for it and whatnot. We've had a little bit of frustration this year around, we've had more frustration around actually getting equipment than the cost of the equipment. I think people do understand that these things are costing more, and it's right, supply and demand. And we primarily resell Dell. We're a Dell partner. We've been a Dell partner for years. We don't really make money when we sell Dell computers. We actually get compensated from them now in what are called Dell bucks. I'm not kidding you. So the nice thing about that is we all enjoy having fairly new equipment all the time because we can only spend that money from Dell at Dell. So it's not a thing where we or I believe any of our competitors are really trying to gouge anybody. There's very low margins in this stuff, but somebody is making more money somewhere. I don't know who that is. It's not us. The costs that I'm concerned about are the security costs. That we use a lot of cloud services. We use really the best tools in the industry for IT security, and they're all subscription now, right? There's no more just going to the store and buying that box off the shelf with a CD in it or whatever, and paying that one-time cost, and then just having to pay it again in a few years when the software is obsolete. It's all subscription now. It's a monthly cost, and those costs are starting to go up. And because everything is starting to go up, it's just a trickle down effect of inflation. So we're going to be, we have to look at that. I mean, as people's contracts come up, then obviously those costs are going to rise. I think people understand that. I'm certainly always willing to have a conversation with anybody about the costs, about the prices we charge, and why we charge what we charge. But I don't think it's as big of a, I don't think it's as it's not a touchy question. It should not be a touchy question. If people have questions about what they're paying to us or anyone else for their IT support, they should feel free to have that conversation. It shouldn't be a I don't want them to, go away, or and the same for us. We can't be like, oh, we're going to lose the client if we raise prices. If prices go up, that we have to pay for things to go up, then we, obviously we have to raise prices. And I'm not announcing price increases here. I'm just saying that we're keeping an eye on that because the cost of everything is rising.
Yeah. One thing you reminded me of too is like, I never mind a client challenging me on something like, should we buy this? That seems expensive. Is this the best option? Like, I don't know about you, but I don't mind that at all. And I think some, maybe some IT companies do, like, here's what it costs or what it costs. But, you always have, as a business owner, right? I mean, this, Bill, but none of the other people know is I just bought myself a new company laptop recently with those Dell bucks, and the Dell bucks didn't come close to covering what the laptop costs. Because I use a $2,500 laptop because I don't want to be slowed down by my computer. And, we're an IT company. I still get a call from Bill. Do you need that? Do you need this laptop? I mean, we had a conversation about it, right? And in the end, it was like, okay, it makes sense, right? But I don't mind that, right? You should call me because, somebody's got to watch the money in the business, right?
Yeah, well, that and the Dell bucks, the Dell bucks covered a little bit more than half of it. So I was just really surprised because most of us are, we all pretty much have the same laptop.
Yeah.
And yours was the premium
Special.
model, right?
Yeah.
I would say Cadillac, but that's not even a premium car
yeah.
anymore. I guess
Nothing.
if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the we have to decide whether it's justified by the business, right? It's not whether I want something or not,
Well, no, it's a business case, right? That's a good example because we do have that discussion with people from time to time. I mean, people who work in a business in the marketing department, for instance, where they're using like the Adobe Creative Suite. And I'm not talking about just Acrobat. I mean, like Illustrator and Photoshop and stuff like that, or architects who are doing CAD drawings. Those computers have to be, they cost more because we put more hardware in, because like you said, you don't want to be slowed down. And if you're a business owner or you're the director or the executive, in charge of whatever organization or business, you have to kind of do this math in your head. Well, okay, I'm only going to spend $1,000 on this person's computer because that's what we do for everybody else. Well, if you're paying them whatever you're paying them, $50, $75, $100,000 a year to do their job, and you don't spend $2,000, you spend $1,000 on a laptop instead of $2,000, and you cut their productivity by 25% because it's taken that much longer for the computer to do stuff. That's the kind of discussion that that's what comes out in these discussions.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Anybody and any of our customers that talk to me about buying a computer or a laptop is always, how much do you pay per year for that laptop 3 to 5 years, and how much you paying the person that uses it, right? So, it's helpful, but we will always help our customers get to what's right, for their business. Yeah. And I think we'll talk about one more trend for 2022 that I'm pretty excited about before we'll probably open it up and take some questions, right, Bill, after that?
Sure thing. The question board is open. So anybody, if you do have a questions, please go ahead and just pull up that chat and go ahead and put your question in.
Cool. And I'll stop the
we'll
share
go
so
through
I
it.
can
Yep.
see that too. And yeah, we've been working on some automation.
Yep, we're getting just a ton of, well, not a ton, but we're getting more requests for help with automation this year. What do you make of that?
What I'm seeing is, just my perception from our customers that, we have this kind of squeeze in the labor market. And so just, let's hire more people, or even really inexpensive people to do very easy tasks. That becomes kind of difficult. So now customers are coming to us and saying like, hey, I heard I could do this thing where you automatically process emails or some automation, can we make a thing that does this? It's that, or it's competition too. If you automate something, it gets done the same way every time. So it could, it could be as simple as like, things like we do, right? When you send in a ticket to service at RxIT, you get a response that lets you know we got it, right? That's an automation. That's a feature of our help desk software, but it's an automation that makes sure every single person who sends in a ticket knows that a ticket got created, right? So we're kind of seeing like consistency and just, why do these tasks that take time when you might be able to automate them?
Yeah, so what are we doing to help customers that try to automate?
So what we're focused on, because we're really a Microsoft Cloud shop, and what we're not into is proprietary software that does things. So, lots of customers are using proprietary software, right? If you're in the mortgage business, Ellie Mae, Encompass, you're using QuickBooks at least, almost every business or accounting. And a lot of those have automation built in, but it's, you have to do whatever the product does. What we're doing is more stuff that's based around Microsoft Cloud, and it grows out of Office 365. So that'll be familiar to people, but very general automation. And Microsoft has put a lot of functionality and tools into a platform called Power Automate. And it's very easy to go in there and create stuff that does exactly what you want. So rather than a system that you have for the business that's like, you can send an email this way, you can receive it, you can automate this, you can, create that. This is very general. It can do whatever you want, and it is, they're not that hard to put together. Takes a little technical knowledge. That's why we help customers with them. But we can create things fairly simply that do exactly what you want. I'll use like one example, because one of the first things that I did here with automation was we didn't have a very good vacation request process. You remember that? I think the old vacation request process was Ask Bill. We had, multiple levels of manager now, and, the requests got to go to the right place, and then people would lose track. Oh, did you put that on the vacation calendar? So I created an RxIT vacation request process. You go to a form, you fill it out, it looks up who your manager is, sends your manager an approval. And the cool thing is a lot of stuff is integrated with Teams, so you can see the vacation you have to approve right in your Teams or in your email. And then you review the request, or whoever the manager is, and then you click approve. And then that approves the vacation. It sends an invite to the person who's on vacation, and then it puts it on a vacation calendar we have. So any approved vacation, we have it tracked when it was requested. It's on the calendar. So, you look at the vacation calendar, right? Or Rodell does when somebody requests vacation, to see if anybody else is on vacation too, right? Because we can't always approve all the vacation, despite my demand. So there's an example there, and that's something internal. But there's so much else you can do. Processing emails, creating files, folders, forms for people to fill out that generate emails to the right people to process them. It's pretty amazing.
Right, we're starting to do some of that around HR processes as well. with new hire forms and whatnot, kicking off a series of things. So this is actually a really big topic and wasn't, our impetus today. Why should we do a webinar on this in February?
Yeah, I think that's a
Okay.
good idea. We probably don't have a
Let's do it.
topic for February yet, so we'll do that. We'll get into automation more, and I'll bring some examples. It's one of those things, and unless you see what it can do, you have no idea what it can do. Looks like we have a question, Bill.
Okay, let me get back over there. Yeah, so you said you serve a small to medium business. What do you recommend for individuals like freelancers or single to 10 desk organizations?
It's a great question.
That is a great question. It is a challenge to, it's a real big challenge with a single individual. And we do support organizations with 10 or fewer people. We don't actively seek them out or market to them, but for that very reason, and the reason that it's hard for them to find support. And frankly, it's substandard support if you go to one of the retail stores that has a service counter kind of thing. And a small business, 10 or fewer seats, still needs a lot of the same love, if you will, that a large organization needs, particularly around the security and whatnot. The advantage to being a smaller organization and being more tight knit is communication is usually a lot better. The larger an organization gets, the more communication flaws develop, and that's where you start seeing successful phishing campaigns and stuff like that. So there's a little bit less of a need with that smaller business, but it's still important. You still need it. And the problem is one of scale. It costs, a lot of times the cost is too high, particularly if it's a startup business. You get into a thing where you want to do all these great things for them, but as an organization, a lot of the stuff that we license to use for you or on your computers or on your network or in your environment, if you will, there's an organizational charge and then a per seat charge. And so what can happen is that cost could be a lot more per person in a smaller organization than it is in a 100 or 200 or 300 person organization. So if there's anybody on this call that needs support and they're not getting the support they think they need, and you want to give me a call or an email, bill@rx-it.com, just shoot me an email, or go on our website and you can, rx-it.com, and you can schedule a 15-minute call with me on there. Be happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile. Just my thoughts on it, Bill, are depends on the profile of the business. One is if you're running a consulting type of business where everybody is fairly well compensated and needs to stay working, it starts to be very beneficial to have good IT service, versus you can't always justify it, at a smaller size. But a good example, I think Cheryl didn't show up, but I'll call her out anyway. One of our customers here is, they were down to 3. They have 5 people right now. A small architectural interior design firm. And they have been very, very satisfied with our service, and it works for them because they want their people, designers, to be out in the field, talking with customers, designing kitchens, and not worrying about, technology and it's not working today and I can't send pictures to the client, stuff like that, right? So many businesses that are smaller do justify that cost, but it's, you just have to talk to Bill, really.
Yeah, and really, and we could talk about what your circumstances are, and if we were a fit or not, or in some cases, I can recommend other companies that have some smaller clients. There's some people like, actually, I know a couple of one-man bands who have gone out to start their own IT service company. And the nice thing about those guys is they're very, very attentive. The bad thing about that is in the first couple, 3 years, when you start an MSP, an IT service company, you need to scale it kind of quickly. Within 2 or 3 years, you need to be making that first hire. Because if you don't, then back to topic one, right? You're going to start getting that burnout. You're going to start getting that computer guy, like from the old Saturday Night Live skits. If you remember, they had the really rude computer guy.
Burns.
Yeah, it burns. It burns after a couple, 3 years. But there's definitely solutions out there. So not getting a ton of questions here.
Nope, that was it. We got the question, Bill.
Okay.
We've stunned people, or we've completely put them all to sleep. I think theoretically.
Yeah, so we'll give people back 24 minutes of their day.
Yeah,
Unless anybody else has any questions, I don't think so.
Yeah. All right, we'll give them a minute. No, you just want to get right off. You need to go. You're stuck in Virginia Beach, so you need to go get some internet working.
Yeah, there's no furniture in this office, so they do have an amazing view. I don't know if I can show this out the window. This is the view from one of their offices. Is that showing up?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at, but it looks nice.
I actually can see Norfolk from here, and I can see the Navy shipbuilding yard and whatnot.
Sherry's asking questions to keep us on.
See that, Sherry? Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the dark web have a future? Yeah, unfortunately, the dark web does have a future. It's as long as you have governments that aren't willing to cooperate with each other.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna have these dark places that exist. It really comes down to that. It comes down to the politics of it. If you've got a United States that is not, has adversaries, China, North Korea, and there's other places too where it's just, they're just going to do stuff. And the way, for those of you who don't know what the dark web is, it exists on the internet, and it is a place where there's anonymous activity browsing that occurs. Yeah. There are this is where when Donald Trump first took office and all these things were leaking to the press, that's where people would go to leak them to the press to stay anonymous. And they really wanted to shut it down then. They couldn't. It's just because the internet is architected the way it is, there's no way a single government could just go in there and stop it. If all the governments in the world, particularly those Asian countries I mentioned, if they got together and decided to, they could. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. That's a good question. Can people check if their info is on the dark web? Yeah, shoot me an email, again, Bill at rx-it.com. And, with your email address, obviously I'll have that, and I'd be happy to let you know. If you've been using the internet in your lifetime, and you've got accounts on Dropbox or LinkedIn or any of those places like that, chances are better than not that you do have information out there on the dark web about you. Social security numbers for people are for sale for $1 out there. That's pretty much the going rate. The thing is, you can't just go say, I want John Smith's social security number, here's $1. That's not the way it works. You buy 250 social security numbers, or at least 100 or something like that, and then that money changes hands using Bitcoin, which is another problem, right? It's an uncontrolled currency.
Yeah. Worth mentioning too that there are a number of places that you can search online for free. We have access to a private database that we pay for that has a bit better information, like it gives partial password strings, right? So you could get an idea of which passwords of yours you probably shouldn't use anymore.
Well, so here's the thing. If you're like most people, over the last 20 years, you've developed, or however long you've been an adult with accounts that need passwords, you've developed 3, maybe 4 go-to passwords, right? And you're always under pressure, right? You go do something on a website for the first time and it says, oh, you need to create an account. We're going to use your email address. What do you want your password to be? And you have to confirm. You're like, oh, shoot. And those 3 or 4 come to mind. And so you go and you put it in and you vary it a little bit, right? Okay, I'm going to capitalize the P, and they want a special character. So I'll put an exclamation mark on the end. And by the way, those 2 things, capitalizing the first letter and putting an exclamation mark or a pound sign on the end of a password, 80% of the people do exactly that. So 8 out of 10 of you that are on this call, I just told you the formula you use. Now, all I need to know is what those 4 passwords are. Well, the Yahoo breach, where we now know every single Yahoo username and password that existed was compromised. I've got the password that you used there. And I can go try that on Facebook, and I can put a 1 on the end, or I can put an exclamation mark. I can capitalize the first letter. So there's crooks know this, right? This is be an internet crook 101. The course is available on the dark web. Just so what I'm trying to tell you is, if you keep reusing these passwords, stop, because people know what they are. And get a password manager. Just go. There's a free one out there. The best one out there, none of them are perfect, but the best one out there is LastPass. And they have a free version, and that's fine. You can use that free version. It's a discipline. It's a habit that you have to get into using it. Once you do, you're going to be so much safer than you are now. And once you get used to it and you start using, you have it on your phone, you have it on your tablet, you have it on your laptop, and it's synchronized, right? So it's you only have to remember 1 password. And
LastPass is my brain.
Yeah, LastPass is my brain too. Yeah. So if you don't take anything else away from this today,
get a password manager now.
Do the password. And I'll give one more piece of advice since I'm up here on this soapbox. Any place that you can turn on 2-factor authentication, even if it's where you get a text message or whatnot, just do it. Turn it on. I know it's inconvenient, but in most cases you can say, trust this device for 30 days or trust it for 60 days. So it won't do it to you again, right? It won't do it to you every time you log in. And not just the banking stuff, do it for everything where you can turn it on, because these guys are really, really bad people, and they're merciless, and they don't care if you're, they don't care who you are. They don't care what you do. They don't care if you can be Mother Teresa. You can be, just spending all day, every day feeding starving children. They don't care. They just want
the money.
Yep. Anyway, sorry about that little rant, but and yes, okay. So we're getting all kinds of different subjects going here. But
actually, based on Sherry's question, Bill, I think it's worth talking about this one in a little bit different way, though. So cybersecurity insurance. Did we lose Bill? He's a little frozen.
Nope, I'm here.
Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, you froze for a sec.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're being asked, is there cybersecurity insurance? Yes, there is. If you are a business owner, get it. You will get just get it, because if you're breached and you have a lot of personal information about people, even just employees, where you've got all that information about them, and you have a breach, you need that insurance. The cleanups for these things are getting really, really expensive, and when you get a cybersecurity policy now, you're going to get a questionnaire. It used to be like 1 page. Do you have antivirus? Do you change your password every 90 days? Just simple stuff. Now you're getting a multi-page form with really, really detailed, explicit questions about policies and procedures. So if you need help with that, we help people with those all the time. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. You want to be 100% accurate on that application. Don't even if it's a mistake, don't say anything that's not true or that you wish was true. You've got to answer it truthfully, because if you don't and something happens, like any insurance company, they're going to look for an excuse to deny that claim. And if you've got something wrong on the application, there's the excuse, and that's, they'll use it to deny the claim.
Yeah, we're seeing some pretty extensive applications. And for the first time, I've never had to do this. I actually had to sign, right, as a security professional on a client's questionnaire. Which is, they're getting serious. They're like, you have to answer these questions, like actually, to be accurate, right? You know how that goes.
5 years ago, they were happy to, it was a new insurance, and claims were very low and policies were really inexpensive. And like I said, they asked a few questions and that was it.
Yeah.
Well, this is serious stuff now. They had to start paying claims. So, so now they want, they want all the I's dotted and T's crossed.
I believe it used to be called a land grab.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So I think we're probably about done here.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, so we're going to do we'll do a webinar again in February on automation.
Yeah. And Sherry will take care of all the notifications and let people know when it's coming.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. And if
we appreciate it.
If you need anything from us, please feel free to reach out, and have a great day.
Thanks all.